Hello and welcome to this edition of Nation Building. On this program, we examine the political, social, and moral issues in the leadership of the Bahamas. And on our program today, we're pleased to bring you the chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, Mr. Bradley Roberts. Mr. Roberts, welcome to Nation Building.
Thank you. Delighted to be here, sir.
Thank you. And when we come back from this break, we're going to dive right in with Mr. Roberts and talk about what the PLP administration plans to do in this election season to gain a second term in office.
Time is money, and when you need more of both, fly Western Air. 12 flights daily between Nassau and Freeport. At Western Air, your 11th round trip is always free. Flights to Marsh Harbor coming soon.
Said you can't get great quality products at an affordable price. If you want the best quality food products at the most affordable prices, you must pick up the Jamaica Bahama brand of fine quality products at your favorite food store. Products like Jamaica Bahama Coconut Water, the most healthy and refreshing drink on the market. Jamaica Bahama Fruit Punch, the only fruit punch in the Bahamas made from real fruit. Jamaica Bahama Coconut Milk, green pigeon peas with coconut milk, condensed milk, kidney beans with coconut milk, corned beef, green pigeon peas, mackerel, and corn. Jamaica Bahama's fine line of products is available at all your favorite food stores and convenience stores nationwide. Telephone 351-8282 in Freeport and 341-4091 in Nassau. I don't want to win. No, I don't want to win.
It's a new day. This is our new day. And in the blue glow of the morning, there's still time to reach back into our dreams. To become dreamers in the daylight. And live our lives and hopes with open eyes. Yes, this is the day to do the things that will fill our lives with joy and with love. Dreamers in the daylight. Anything is possible. This is our new day. We are alive.
Welcome back to Nation Building. And as previously mentioned, we have with us today Mr. Bradley Roberts, who's the chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, of course, the governing party in our country. And as we prepare to face a general election in what seems to be weeks now, Mr. Roberts, we seem to be weeks away from a general election. Is that safe to say?
Yes, sir. We are weeks. The bell has been rung. And from all indications, the election will be held in the first week or the second week of May.
Wonderful. And so we're going to dive into a lot of politics today. But first, this is your first appearance on our show, and we're glad that you've taken time out to come and share your thoughts with us, because we know you're very busy out campaigning. And so, but we wanted to talk a little about Mr. Roberts. You have a very significant and impactful story as a Bahamian, as a successful black Bahamian. And so wanted to use the first segment to talk a little about your background. I know you're a businessman and a politician, kind of, I guess, moving into being an elder political statesman, but share with us a little of your background.
Well, I describe myself as the barefoot boy from Augusta Street, where I was born in 1943. From a very humble background, from an area we call the Lancy Town. And my entry into the business world came into my first employment with Bahamas Telecommunication Company back then at the age of 16. I completed high school, going to Government High Evening Institute. And after my stint at BTC, I went and I joined Caribbean Motors, where I stayed for 2 years. And after that, I went and I joined Burns House, which today is known as Bahama Blenders and is now the parent company of the brewery here in New Providence, where I spent 44 years before I retired, when I became a member of the cabinet in 2002.
So to be clear, you have had a very long and distinguished career as a business person. Were you an employee of Burns House initially?
I was an employee of Burns House initially. I became president of the largest liquor company at the age of 29, and then I later became a shareholder in the company, and we sold our interests there about, I guess, 14 years ago, and that's only a part of my business affairs. And then I was a part of a group of young black Bahamians who wanted to get their stake in the financial world and in the business world in the Bahamas, and we formed our group, and we were known as the Sunshine Boys. Today we own a large number of companies and control a large number of companies in the Bahamas.
Mr. Roberts, most of our people know of you as a politician. They know of Big Bad Brad, but they don't know, I believe, the success stories as a businessman. You talked about being an employee of Burns House, moving up to becoming a shareholder. Just for a few minutes, what took you from being at 29, having such success, to eventually becoming a shareholder? What was the secret to that transition?
Well, we had an American who headed the company back in those days by the name of Robert Albert, and he and I became very close. He was the mastermind behind driving the growth of the companies. And I drew to his attention that there was some shares available that I thought he should embrace, because he was the mastermind. He did own some shares along with his family members, but he directly didn't own any shares. And he made a request of the company, and they agreed, and those shares were very significant and had tremendous financial benefit for him down the road. And I then asked if I could be allowed to buy shares as well too. The answer was no, but we have something else for you.
What year was that? Sorry.
Oh, that's been such a long time ago.
What period?
You're talking about the 70s.
Okay.
And they then in turn said, listen, we are going to introduce a profit sharing program. And as you are one of the driving forces behind this, and my God, the first check that we received from that bonus sharing program staggered me. It was almost equal to my annual salary.
Wow.
So from there I was able to just make leaps and bounds, and here I am today.
So you had been saving, I assume, so that when that opportunity opened up, you were able to...
Yes, I had to go to the bank to borrow money to buy into the company. And whilst we are talking about savings, it is important for young people today, and my book speaks to this, that young people must learn how to save their money if they hope to be able to achieve big things. No one is going to drop anything in their lap. And anyone who is selling them on the notion that things can happen for them without their involvement and not saving their money, it ain't gonna happen. Unless some miracle comes along.
Would you say that the new generation of Bahamians have been sold a dream? Because so many of our young people today have departed from the old tried, true, and tested principle that you practice and many others, from all spheres of the political life and of social life to achieve success. And how do we reinstate that, if you will?
Well, your latter question is a good one. I believe that the young people in the minority are the wayward ones. They do not comprise the majority. Therein lies the challenge for us, because they are fastly spreading themselves and contaminating others with this laid-back, don't care approach to life. But in our country, we happen to be blessed, and I believe that we are living in perhaps what can be described as the best little country in the world. And there's an opportunity there for all of us. The key is education. And therein lies the philosophy of the Progressive Liberal Party, that we will ensure that every Bahamian who is able to absorb it, get the best possible education he can. And from there, the sky is the limit.
And following up on that, many young people will say, well, I've gone off to college, gotten a college degree and so forth. I prepared myself and have great ideas, but funding is a challenge. And so, you know, you hear that complaint a lot.
Yes, we hear that complaint. And let me say, perhaps I can use the example of the Sunshine Boys. We pooled our resources. We started many, 40-something years ago, contributing each month or each week into a fund. And look what it is worth today. Many young people today are off the impression that you can plant a seed today, it can germinate today, it can produce fruit today, but that obviously is living in a fool's paradise. It takes time, and with focused attention, one is able to achieve one's goals.
Do you think our governments, it doesn't matter what political party is in office, can be concentrated and focus on developing programs that can help assist in training young people to do the things you're talking about, to help them understand how to be successful?
Yes, I think that the government has a number of programs, and obviously new and more expansive programs are needed. But what we really need is that those persons who have been successful to be able to give back, to embrace some of these young people.
To mentor?
To mentor those, yes. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I must say this, Mr. Pinnock, I see young people today, and some of them are sort of given up on life, but I see them, they could sit down and consume 4 and 5 bottles of their favorite stout or their beer, and they do that on a daily basis. And if you multiply that during the course of a year, you know how much money they could have in their pockets?
Priority.
Okay, yes, sir.
Priority. Let's talk for a little, Mr. Roberts, about your political, you've had an illustrious political career, serving not only as Member of Parliament, I think it's in Baintown.
Yes, I served for 25 years, but initially, my first stint at trying to get elected was in 1977, when I ran against Roland Simonette in the Shirley constituency. I was unsuccessful, and then I had a second try 5 years later, and I was again unsuccessful. Then Shadrach A. Morris, who was then the Member of Parliament for Grandstand, died 30 days after the general elections of 1982, and I was selected to succeed Brother Morris, and I remained in Grandstand, which later was extended to Baintown for 25 years. I left on my own volition. I thought that I had given the best that I could, and I gave way, and Dr. Bernard Norris succeeded me, and he continues to carry the party banner there in the constituency.
What led you to the PLP in the first place?
Well, the PLP I found was the party that had the right focus and philosophy. I identify more with. And the Progressive Liberal Party has been the party that has instituted all of the major changes that has happened in our country today. It is there for all to see. And we continue to make changes. The last and significant change that we are making is the introduction of national health insurance. And the next one, for the next PLP government, would be a program that is designed to address this problem we have with our young people in our country. We had instituted it back in 2002, 2007, but when Mr. Ingram came to office, he thought that the program was too expensive, and he threw it out of the window.
And explain that program again a little more.
That was a program that it was done in collaboration with my church, the Roman Catholic Church, which was then headed by Jeffrey Lloyd. And it was located in Andros, and it was done in collaboration also with the IDB. We got some funding for them. And that program was well underway when Mr. Ingram won in 2007.
Just to get a little more meat on it, the program aimed at doing what, just for the viewers?
It was aimed at at-risk youth. And we had a program that was designed and put especially for the Bahamian situation. And it was located in North Andros, and it was doing a masterful job.
Why didn't the PLP reinstitute the program on coming back to office? It is
doing it now, and it's going to be relocated on Wolf Road at the old Seventh-day Adventist, and it's going to be styled under a new name, and it should be in full gear sometime next year.
Just for the sake of your critics, who would say to you, you've had almost 5 years in office, Why wasn't that a priority at the beginning?
I'm glad you raised that question. The Free National Movement, by the admission of Dr. Hubert Minnis himself, that the country was left in a wheelchair by Mr. Ingham's administration, where the country was handicapped, had no money. We were into debt up to our eyeballs. So the government of Perry Christie had to work itself out of that situation today, where the Bahamas is back on a shore on a more definitive footing. The same thing happened in 2007. We left a thriving economy. And by the end of Mr. Ingham's term in 2012, we were down in the tank. That was described by Mr. Minnis as being in a wheelchair.
I'm sure the opposition party, the Free National Movement, would disagree with you, but I hear you made your point very clear. We want, before we miss the 25 years of impact that you had in serving the country, to talk about your ministerial roles.
Yes. I was given the portfolio of Minister of Housing and Utility, and including Bahamas here, the national flag carrier. That was a 5-year period where we had growth and development that was unprecedented in our history. The Ministry of Works was so taxed that practically all of the technical staff of the ministry left to open their own businesses, either as architects or as engineers. And we were forced to bring in persons from overseas. The country and the economy was on fire during that period of time. The construction of homes and buildings and so forth was unprecedented in the history of the Bahamas. So I had a very good 5-year period there. In addition, we had the portfolio of responsibility for BTC. And BTC invested some $350 million in upgrades to the telecommunication system, which included the investment of the marine cable connection to the major islands of the Bahamas. And we introduced for the first time a new upgrade of the cellular phone service. When we came to office in 2002, the then service there was taxed to the maximum. We had to then introduce a new system, and we are benefiting from that today.
What about
water and sewage?
Works.
We also had that as well too. We had tremendous expansion of potable water in the Family Islands, unprecedented in the history of the Bahamas during those 5-year period. In the other areas, like for example, we had water, we have telephone, electricity. We were able to bring down the cost of electricity the first time in the history of BEC. And we were able to move many other areas, the road works that we were carrying on here and in the Family Islands. I'm proud of the 5 years that I spent as Minister.
I have heard, I think your successor, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Fenton Nemore, critique you on the issue that it was under your watch that BEC lost so much money because you had brought electricity costs down for the consumers, and the FNM accused you, of course, of being trying to do politics by doing that. Explain that for the
it's interesting. Fenton Nemore did say that, but at the same time, it was Tommy Turnquest who got up in the House of Assembly when we introduced measures to reduce the cost of electricity, and he embraced it and said it was because of the great works of the FNM that it was possible for that to happen. And then Fenton Nemore came behind and said something completely different. The facts are what Tommy Turnquest said was true, and what Fenton Nemore said was not true.
Do you see a fix, as a former minister of BEC, do you see a near-term fix for the corporation? It's been troubled through different administrations.
Yes. I see light at the end of the tunnel, and it requires the transformation away from the present system of power generation using the old diesel and the other type of
bunker
fuel. And tenders are presently out, and I understand there may be an announcement before this election cycle goes into full effect of the award of a contract that will result in a significant reduction in the cost of electricity.
Wonderful. Mr. Roberts, we are going to head to a break, and when we come back from the break, things are going to get exciting because we're going to talk about what people want to hear, the upcoming election in 2017. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. You're watching Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock.
Time is money, and when you need more of both, fly Western Air. 12 flights daily between Nassau and Freeport. At Western Air, your 11th round trip is always free. Flights to Marsh Harbor coming soon.
Hello, I'm Wendell Jones, and every time I sit down and I watch JCN television, I drink the Jamaica Bahama fruit juice. It's so pleasing to the palate.
I've been cooking Bahamian dishes for generations. I now use Jamaica Bahamas product. The rice is very fluffy, very tasty, and good eating. Jamaica Bahama product is simply the best.
As an insurance agent, my life is go, go, go. But whenever I need a refreshing break, it's Jamaica Bahamas Island Mixed Fruit Drink. Good.
Hi, I'm Debbie Bartlett from GEMS 105.9 FM. The effect that Island Junkanoo Juice Medley has on me is exhilarating.
You bring passion, and we bring world-class infrastructure and innovation that's designed to help your business grow. You have determination. We've got your back with a super-fast LTE network, giving you access to whatever you need, when you need it. You offer superior service, we put you in control, with a dedicated care team to look after your business 24/7. Together, we have the advantage. Alive. Let's do this.
Welcome back to Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock, and we are here today with Mr. Bradley Roberts, former government minister, member of parliament, and now chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party. Mr. Roberts, we are right in the midst of a political campaign preparing for the 2017 general election. And some have said that your party led a masterful campaign in 2012 to unseat the then Ingram administration of the Free National Movement. And in that campaign, there were many, many promises made by your party, the Progressive Liberal Party. And one or two of the more outstanding things that people talk about today, for example, is the issue of putting Bahamians first, the issue of reducing crime. Today, there are many dissatisfied Bahamians who say that the PLP's performance on crime has been a dismal failure. Has the PLP really put Bahamians first, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, that commitment, I believe, has materialized. There are some who would challenge that. For example, persons who would have bidded for, had an interest in bidding for certain contracts and were unsuccessful. And they blame the government because they were not successful. Well, if you are in a competitive situation, there's nothing that can guarantee you that you should win. What should guarantee you if you have the best proposal with the best pricing, and it would result in you being victorious. But if you do not have it, how can you expect to be successful?
And so you would say that these comments are coming from your critics. You don't believe that the average Bahamian is overly concerned that the PLP hasn't delivered on the issue of crime?
Let me say that looking back at the political landscape over the past 5 years and measuring from where we were in 2012 and where we are today, I would say that any objective thinking Bahamian would agree that the PLP has made significant strides. We came from being deep down in the hole that was left by the F&M, where this country was teetering on going over that economic cliff, to where we are today, where we have stabilized the situation. It could not be done by pressing a button. If there was such a magic button, we would have found it a long time ago. But it only comes through hard work, through expansion and growth. One of the biggest challenges that the government had was this Bahama that we thought would have been open 3-4 years ago. And we went through a struggle in making that happen. And that is the centerfold around which the Free National Movement is basing their campaign. They seem to be siding with the man who was unsuccessful in bringing that to a conclusion, Mr. Ismailian. And if you look recently at the ads in the newspaper, by obviously person close to Mr. Ismailian over the casino licensing issue there. And when they had the hearing, not one single person turned up. It's all a smoke screen, in my opinion. Why spend the money for full-page newspaper ads, and when the hearing happens, nobody is there to advance something of any significance? It's all smoke screen, in my opinion.
So you say it's PR. Question, just to be a little more specific. The PLP's promise to deal with the issue of crime.
Yes, let me address that.
It seems to me, from my assessment in talking with so many people and just listening to the feedback, that if the PLP is not successful, crime will be a major factor that attributes to that. So, giving you an opportunity to address it head on, I would say this. In the 2012 campaign, the Progressive Liberal Party did a masterful job, as I said earlier, in presenting a picture that, if elected, that they would reduce crime. It went so far as signs being put up highlighting the terrible record the Free National Movement had on the crime issue. And some said it was a mistake to have gone that far in putting up these signs and doing it. Two questions. One, would you concede that that was not the best thing to do at the time? And secondly, how do you address the Bahamian people who are concerned and have a right to be concerned that government hasn't done enough to deal with the crime?
You have no problem with me conceding that it was not the right thing to do in retrospect. I have no difficulty in that at all. Crime, from my vantage point, has always been something that is non-political, and that we should stay away from politicizing crime. Crime is the concern for every Bahamian of goodwill, because what affects one of us should affect all of us. Okay? The big problem with crime is that of murder. Murder is the main focus of crime in our country. All right? Whilst there's been significant progress with the other areas of crime, the one area that has challenged the government is that of murders. And when you look at the situation, look, we just had one last night of a young lady in Grand Bahama, allegedly killed by another lady. My God, what are we coming to? That life doesn't mean anything to us anymore because of some disagreement? Someone taking a knife and stabbing someone else to death over some disagreement? We seem to be consumed with anger against one another, and we are concluding that the best way to resolve that is to take somebody else's life.
So do you see it as a social problem in the Middle East?
Yes, I do. I do.
What role does government play in helping?
Well, the government must play the best role that it can, and that not only the government but all citizens of goodwill. If you have a relative who you know is showing you a tendency of moving in that direction, you obviously should step in and do something as best as you can with the situation. I myself today, I don't get angry anymore. If I do, I walk away, because I know it may lead to some things that may not be too nice in the end.
What do you say to people who say, look, we accept that the root of crime at its core is not an issue that government in of itself can solve, right? Conceding that. What do you say to people who say, look, our country lacks a system, a clearly defined system that punishes perpetrators, that acts as a deterrent? In other words, you have people committing murders or other crimes, they go unpunished, or the punishment is very light. For example, capital punishment, which is on our books, is not enforced. What do you say to people who say the government, this government and previous governments have failed to simply carry out the law?
Mr. Pinnock, it isn't the government that has failed to do so. We are a country of laws, and we have to follow the law. The matters regarding persons convicted of murder moves all the way up to the Privy Council. That's the last law or level of authority to deal with the matters. It's not the politicians, it's up to the politician. 99% of those persons who make up the cabinet of Perry Christie agree with capitalist punishment. The same in the previous Ingham administration. So someone to suggest that the politicians do not wish to carry out capital punishment, it is not true. We are a nation of law. Let me also draw to your attention that throughout the Caribbean, the same problem persists. Jamaica, Barbados, Trinidad, the same thing. The new Prime Minister of Trinidad, he said he could see what he could do.
He said he's going to ignore the Privy Council and go ahead.
No, but you can't do that. That means then you'd be taking the law into your own hands. And that can lead to anarchy and et cetera, et cetera.
Is there, for those who want to see things like capital punishment carried out, do you say to them it's a dead issue? Is there any possibility of the Bahamas abandoning the Privy Council as the final appellate court, or going to the Caribbean Court of Justice, or creating its own court?
Well, if you go to the Caribbean Court of Appeal, their thinking mirrors that of the Privy Council. So where does that lead?
What about a final appellate court in the Bahamas?
Well, the difficulty with that is we have a banking industry here that's very important, and I think for their safeguard they would like to have that final level with the Privy Council. But I think the bottom line is we need to become more human, in that we know our children and our grandchildren are caught up in criminal activities, and we're turning our blind eye to it.
Would you at least concede that it is, as many people say, the government's responsibility, though, to stiffen penalties, to see to it that the police is properly equipped, and to do everything it can to ensure that, whether it's a traffic violation or murder, to ensure that justice is at least seen to be done? Because many people point to the fact that many of the murders being committed now have been committed on those who have been released on bail and that kind of thing, which means that society is taking matters into their own hands.
Well, I think we ought to be aware that tremendous progress has been made by this administration in reducing the number of persons who have been admitted to bail. And I have been observing and watching this very closely. The numbers are dwindling shorter and shorter. The judges seem to be cooperating more. And I think that loophole has been closed, or is about to close. So I expect that we will get positive things that will result as a result of that.
Good. Moving along, Mr. Roberts, the PLP has a long-standing, or had a long-standing tradition, I don't know if it's since its inception, but certainly since being under the leadership of the late Sir Lyndon Pindlin, of walking lockstep with the church. The PLP has had any number of occasions since the 1960s of the church almost being in unison, seeing it as the party that supports issues of values and so forth. It seems as if, certainly in this term, it's the first time that the PLP seemed to have departed from walking lockstep with the church, if I can use that loosely. And I'm referring specifically to the gaming referendum.
Well, the gaming referendum, I beg to differ with you. The overriding factor with regard to the gaming referendum was the international agencies with regard to the Bahamas and the adverse effect it could have had on our financial services there. That was the driving factor behind it, sir. The government wanted to implement the results of the referendum or the opinion poll, but it was beyond the government's.
Was it ill-advised of Mr. Christie to promise the Bahamian people that, look, we'll abide by the will of the people? Was it even foolish to have a referendum as opposed to?
Well, when you're looking money quarterback, if you had that, you would make some other decisions rather than. But I believe the decision we took at that time was the right one. But when other matters came to the government's attention, it was obligated to move ahead from that. If not, our whole country could have suffered devastating effects.
Did you think, some say the PM didn't do a good enough job of trying to explain to the country or to the people, especially in light of the failure of the referendum, that his hands were tied, if he felt so?
Well, let me say that, you mentioned about the churches, I happen to be Roman Catholic, My church has never had a problem with gambling.
But the Christian Council and the majority of the Bahamian Church for sure has...
No, but the Christian Council comprises a number of churches that are small in numbers. But when you talk about the overwhelming majority, why do you think the number of houses is so successful? Why do you think so?
Because Bahamians love to gamble.
Exactly.
But the same Bahamians that love to gamble...
In addition to, remember now, we've had gambling here, of which Bahamians couldn't participate, of which the churches didn't have any problem with for all these years.
So you're saying there's some hypocrisy in this whole issue?
I'll let you draw that conclusion yourself.
Mr. Roberts, there is something else that is of concern, and that is, in recent times, the Free National Movement leader, and you have alluded to this earlier, have been highly critical of your government, of its handling of the Baha project. And some would say that it hit a crescendo when there were some statements made about if the Free National Movement was elected or is elected in the upcoming election, that it would seek to have some significant changes and have a proper buy, I believe was, I don't want to misquote the leader of the FNM. The central question for you with the Baha issue is this. What could the government of the Bahamas, the Progressive Liberal Party, in hindsight have done better in handling Baha? And secondly, speak directly to the Free National Movement's leader's comments. I know you would disagree with him, but give me the PLP side of that.
Well, let me first do a quick overview. It was during 2002, 2007 that the concept and the idea of Bahama evolved. I spent a lot of time with committees, cabinet dealing with this matter. And it was my understanding that Mrs. Malin had a deal with a major gaming company out of Vegas that was going to provide the funding for it. That fell to the ground when Mr. Ingram took over in 2007. And some said the utterances made by Mr. Ingram in the House of Assembly was the main reason for scuttling that deal. Mrs. Malin was then left to go and to fish for a new financier. And he found himself in China. He did a deal with the Chinese that he brought back to the Ingram administration that required that a large number of Chinese be employed. That was brought to the House of Assembly.
And the PLP knocked it.
Yes, knocked it, but they went along with it, okay? Because we knew that that investment was important to the Bahamas. And I must say, it was the largest single investment made in the entire Caribbean over the last 100 years. The largest single investment. Baha. So it was significant.
And you credit the PLP, of course, with that.
We were the genius who put it together. Christie was the captain that maneuvered that.
And the FNM said that the deal was so bad that the current Prime Minister gave away too much and they had to reorganize and redo it.
That's absolute hogwash. That ain't no true, my brother.
We're going to continue that conversation on Baha and allow you to provide what the PLP feels is clarity to that issue right after this break. You're Washington Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock. We'll be right back after the break.
Time is money, and when you need more of both, fly Western Air. 12 flights daily between Nassau and Freeport. At Western Air, your 11th round trip is always free. Flights to Marsh Harbor coming soon.
Who said you can't get great quality products at an affordable price? If you want the best quality food products at the most affordable prices, you must pick up the Jamaica Bahama brand of fine quality products at your favorite food store. Products like Jamaica Bahama Coconut Water, the most healthy and refreshing drink on the market. Jamaica Bahama Fruit Punch, the only fruit punch in the Bahamas made from real fruit. Jamaica Bahama coconut milk, green pigeon peas with coconut milk, condensed milk, kidney beans with coconut milk, corned beef, green pigeon peas, mackerel, and corn. Jamaica Bahamas' fine line of products is available at all your favorite food stores and convenience stores nationwide. Telephone 351-8282 in Freeport and 341-4091 in Nassau.
I don't wanna win. No, no. I don't wanna win.
Alive knows what you do today will determine the success of your tomorrow. So we've invested in world-class infrastructure and innovation so every business in the Bahamas can grow. Like our online business account that lets you manage all your business mobiles simply and efficiently through one portal. From adding users and numbers to drilling down where you can view details of individual data, calls, and texts to providing an immediate overview of usage month on month. We put you in control. Our people are here to help your business grow. Our relationship managers take the time to understand your business. And with our care team and our Alive stores, we are there to support your business needs. So let's work together, Bahamas. Let's grow together. Let us be part of your team. Let's do this.
Welcome back to Nation Building. I'm your host, Winston Pinnock. I'm here today with the chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party, Mr. Bradley Roberts. Mr. Roberts, you were in mid-sentence talking about the Bahama situation. Continue.
Yes. So the project got off the ground, all right, and progressed to the stage where Mr. Ismailian spokesman and himself said it was 97% complete. And then all of a sudden, all hell break loose. Mr. Ismailian goes to the Prime Minister and asks for his intervention, saying that he got differences with the lender and the contractor. The Prime Minister holds a series of meetings with those persons concerned and concluded that he found a way forward. But like a thief in the night, Mr. Ismailian goes to the United States and he files for Chapter 11 protection over there. The government then says, wait a minute. This is the Bahamas. This ain't the United States. And our legal advisors have told us that the jurisdiction for this matter is the Bahamas. Mr. Ismailian was chased from the United States, and the matter was held and heard here in the courts of the Bahamas. Those are the facts. Mr. Ismailian, although he posted that he got the money and what have you and so forth, never entered a bid when the matter was put up for bidding. And a company out of Hong Kong was the best bidder, and they're the ones who are purchasing Bahama. Those are the facts. But yet this Mr. Ismailian seemed not to be able to accept the realities. We are a country of laws. The judge sitting on the matter after representation from the construction company, from the lending company, and from the other sides, adjudicated on the matter and has approved the sale of the company.
What about those who say that it was egregious to have had documents sealed on the issue, that the government should never had agreed to or consented to or been a part of allowing the deal to be hidden from the Bahamian people?
Mr. Pinnock, the realities are that the judge, in his wisdom, is the one who takes the decision on that matter. Representation was made by the lender, the main people who lent the money to Mr. Ismailian. They made application to the court. It was their money, it was their asset.
So as just for clarity for the public, did the PLP play a role in that decision? Did the PLP...
The PLP didn't play no role at all. It wasn't involved in it.
So did the PLP agree
you mean
with
the government, you mean?
Yeah, the government, sorry. Did the government agree to allow to agree with the sealing of this document? Did it oppose it?
I don't know, but the driving factor was the request made by the lending company. And the reality is that it is not unusual for transactions like that, I'm told. Even if there's a divorce matter going on and you want that matter to be sealed so that not everybody knows your business, the judge in his wisdom can seal the matter, as happens all the time, involving a lot of our brothers and sisters.
Let's move on to another very, very interesting, if I could put it that way, issue, but very important, and that is an issue to do with VAT. Recently, at an FNM rally, The leader of the Free National Movement said the following, that the Prime Minister of the Bahamas must be delusional if he believes that the Bahamian people will accept his explanation, which he did in Parliament recently, almost an hour, of where VAT money has gone. And obviously this came out of a long period where there was lots and lots of criticism, and I saw the Prime Minister saw fit to explain what and presented something in Parliament, which he said was prepared by civil servant. What is your take, and what is the PLP's take on this whole issue of the Prime Minister's explanation? Is it sufficient for the people, you think?
Yes, sir. In my opinion, it is. And he went to great pains and to great extent to explain the situation. Let me use an example. If you have, let's say, 5 or 6 different elements that contribute to your national income. One is VAT, and we color that red. One is customs duty, we color that green. One is the others, and you color a different color. You then pour all that into a big bowl. After you get it all in there, they're all in one now, they all mix up together. You could tell what is where, what went where. The law of the country said all revenue must go into the treasury, including VAT. And the F&M, for their propaganda purpose, are attempting to suggest otherwise. I say to any F&M or any Bahamian who has any information that any money from VAT has gone where it should not have gone, to please, don't let the door hit them. Go to the Commissioner of Police and report it.
Because we have limited time, I'd love to spend some more time on that VAT issue, but let's move along. There are many issues that the Bahamian people would want to hear from you on, and you play a very, very important role in your party. And so let's talk, for example, there have been other utterances from your, and I focus on the Free National Movement, they are your main contenders, and you yourself conceded that the race, according to you, is between the Progressive Liberal Party and not the Free National Movement. By the way, why do you leave the DNA out of the mix?
Up to this point. Now, miracles do happen, but I leave miracles to God. But from my vantage point as a layman, I don't see them winning one single seat.
But the DNA, some say, caused the Free National Movement to be out of office and caused your party to win by taking away. It got over 8% of the vote, and some who have analyzed the situation have said that a significant portion of those votes came from the Free National Movement. Are you afraid, for example, that the DNA may siphon off PLP votes this time?
Let me say it to the person who put that question to me after the last election. I say to him, the Lord give it and the Lord take it away. Blessed be the name of the Lord.
So, in a nutshell, just to be clear, are you dismissing the Democratic National Alliance from the equation?
I do not see them having an impact at this.
Not a significant impact?
No, sir.
Where does things stand today, Mr. Roberts, with your party? We know that both major political parties always tout the fact that they're doing well, they expect to win so many seats, and everybody's going to win. But let's take a pragmatic approach and tell me what is the road to the PLP's victory in 2017 amid all of the myriad of challenges that the country is going through.
Our record since coming to office in 2012 and how we've been able to progress, the number of jobs that we've been able to create, and what we project that lies ahead. And the F&M's policy of stop, review, and cancel, if they were to come back in charge, they will put us back like they put us back in 2007. Also, let me say, the big item that's going to come out that will influence a large number of our people is going to be our Charter of Governance that will be released in the next 7 to 8 days. That will contain forecasts and projection that are realistic, that will impact the lives of many of our citizens. And you in time contrast that to what the F&M has put out in their manifesto. I haven't seen the DNA one yet. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't. Okay. Would you concede that as a governing party, you will have a greater hurdle to climb in terms of convincing people on the face of both manifestos and the promises or commitments made?
I have not read in depth the F&M's manifesto, but someone who has told me that in his opinion, they may have downloaded that from somewhere on some website because it's so generic. So I'm told.
I hear you. I would ask this question. As you look out, and you are a man well versed in politics and understand the politics of our country as well as anybody, what do you realistically expect the seat count to be at the end of this election?
I expect that the PLP will win with a comfortable majority.
Do you want to give us a number? I know
No,
you've been
I don't
studying.
Give you a number yet, but I will. If you ask me in another month from now, not another month.
Another month we'll have election,
another
maybe.
2 weeks from now, I'll give you that information.
We're going to invite you to come back to share further thoughts with us. Are you at least willing to say the PLP will win no less than?
We win no less than 27 seats.
27 seats.
27 seats, sir.
Mr. Roberts.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure the Free National Movement leader and others will say you are now delusional.
No, sir. Well, tell them it ain't long now to put that cap on who it deserves.
I hear you, Mr. Roberts.
Let me give you an idea of why I base it. When we have our ratification of our candidates that we started, and you see the numbers that come out in support of our candidates, look at the Free National Movement who's come out in support of theirs. Look at them, Mr. Pinnock. Use that as a barometer, as one possible barometer. There's a difference between night and day. Our following are stronger, more consistent. The FNM has been burdened with leadership problems, with infighting, how could they present themselves as united organizations in this country when they have a whole brand new group of persons with little experience? The people who had some experience, they threw them overboard, and they want to represent themselves.
And who do you fault for that what you're describing happening in the Free National Movement?
Well, my brother, he got to put it at the feet of the leader. But one minute he's the leader of the opposition, next minute it's Loretta Butler Turner, and.
But those who would argue in favor of Dr. Minnis would say that he's had a rough ride internally, yet still he has managed to put a very good slate of candidates together, and also has withstood the test of challenges within his own party, and that should be a good test of what a good leader would be made of. And also many internally say that he is very thoughtful, and not as witty as your leader, but someone who has good success in his own personal business life. Wouldn't you credit him with that as well?
When he brings in persons into his organization who led the revolt against him? Now you tell me, sir, where that makes any sense. The people who were driving this problem against you, and you're going to turn around and bring one of them back into your bosom? Come on.
There are many critics of your party, and some, including Dr. Minnis, who recently said that, or made statements to the effect that the PLP has abandoned the family islands, haven't built. Dr. Minnis said himself that you haven't built any new schools. Grand Bahama has just been handled atrociously by the PLP, and you won't be winning one seat there. What's your response to that?
Let me start with Grand Bahama. When we came to office in 2012, the vast majority of the hotels in Grand Bahama were closed. We worked our butts off to get Grand Bahama moving again.
And some would say those hotels are still closed now.
But Mr. Pinnock, why are they closed? They closed because of the hurricane. The hurricane, Matthew, had nothing to do with Perry Christie or with Dr. Minnis. That had nothing to do with politics. That's a factor of life, that hurricanes and other natural elements come along. That is why Freeport is at its stage at the moment. But it ain't for long, though.
Has the government done enough, though, it being reasonable, since the hurricanes of last year, to get those hotels back up and running? What's the big issue with Arlukai and with those projects, memories?
Well, because they owns the hotels. The government doesn't own the hotels. The government had a deal, caused a deal to be put with the people who own the hotels and the Canadian group who came in, refurbished them, etc., and so on. Therein lies the dilemma. I am told that there's a prospective buyer, that the Chinese want to sell those hotels, and I hope we might be able to make the announcement on that soon. But that's beyond the
Before the
realm.
next general election?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's forthcoming.
Yes,
so the
sir.
people of Grand Bahama can stay tuned and listen for shortly.
That
within
happens,
days.
it's going to be a major announcement, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk for a second, a little more. Again, I keep going back to the Free National Movement. It is, after all, your competitor. And talk about some of the statements the leader of the Free National Movement have made in challenging and trying to expose what he sees as being a corrupt PLP. The FNM leader said recently that the Christie administration is trying to steal the general election. And he made mention of what he alleged took place at the Parliamentary Registration Office. He alleges that the voter registration list, that there was some computer malfunction that caused people's names to be wiped off the list. Very, very, very serious accusations or allegations. And of course, many in media is still looking into that, trying to get information to see what the facts are. Can you say to the Bahamian people, because this is at the very foundation of our democracy, is the PLP trying to steal the general election, as Dr. Minnis said?
Mr. Pinnock, the Prime Minister answered that, and I repeat what he said, and I accept it as being gospel. That is utter rubbish by Dr. Minnis. First of all, in addition, the Parliamentary Commissioner also responded to Dr. Minnis. When you make an accusation as a politician, one must have the facts to support what you allege. Dr. Minnis presented no facts whatsoever. All he went on is what somebody told him. Well, the devil could tell him that he was going to end up in hell the next day. You think he's going to repeat that?
Mr. Chairman, with the greatest respect to you, sir, obviously Dr. Minnis could not have made those statements because somebody told him. I trust that the opposition leader has some information that he plans at the right time to present.
What he was told. Is that being responsible? And he didn't even do any due diligence. He didn't pick up the telephone and call the Parliamentary Commissioner. Sir, any truth to this?
But Dr. Minnis has said that he has spoken with the Parliamentary Commissioner and has requested that an investigation be carried out in the matter. Is that not true? Are you accusing the opposition leader, the leader of the FNM,
I'm
of
not
lying?
aware of that, sir. As far as I am aware, the Parliamentary Commissioner made it very clear that there was no substance whatsoever to what Dr. Minnis had to say. The registration is still a manual process. So what you can steal? What you going to steal, sir? You were given your voter's card or a coupon at the time that you registered, if you registered before the day that they started to give out the cards. So how could you have anybody drop it off anywhere? It was ridiculous.
So the database that is there that acts as the Parliamentary Commissioner recently said as a backup to the manual or paper, can be, you can reconcile both.
Yes.
You can reconcile. And
in addition, Mr. Pinnock, the Progressive Liberal Party updates its record every day as people are registered.
And I'm
the
sure
Free
the
National Movement does as well too.
Yeah.
So I couldn't understand the logic in Minnis saying what he said.
Again, with the greatest respect to the leaders of both major political parties, I have to assume, which I'm sure like most others, that the Free National Movement leader does have some information that led him there, more than just hearsay.
Tell him, step now and put it on the table. Don't keep it no secret, because it makes no sense what he is saying. And I believe that if he had anything of substance, he would have already shared it.
Mr. Roberts, as we get ready to wrap up this program, what do you say to the Bahamian people in appealing to them as to what is the most significant reason why they should re-elect the PLP?
Because the PLP is united. We are a stable organization. We have hard-working ministers. They are smart, they're intelligent. You compare them to the Free National Movement grouping, and you will see the difference between night and day. They have the ability to lead the Bahamas to higher heights during the next 5 years. And I urge all Bahamians to embrace Perry Christie and the Progressive Liberal Party.
Mr. Roberts, you've been a great guest here
Thank
on
you very
Nation
much, sir.
Building. Thank you for
Pleasure,
taking
sir.
time out to come, and we hope to see you again before the
Yes,
general
sir.
election.
Thank you, sir.
On behalf of all of us at Nation Building, I'm your host, Winston Pinnock, thanking you for joining us for this edition. Hope you have enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you next week here on Nation Building.